Blessup Folk. For those that don't know, my name is TAMPPA, and this is an AI art piece fused with my life. Please, lend me your ears. Lee was my manager, and immediately after aiart.com win, a meeting with Columbia Records, he pushed me to other heights. Lee is the one that introduced me to Clear and Throw Sound, Emmy Award winner Lance Kane. I was just getting my feet wet with my music, and Lee and Lance was close friends since teens, and was one of the folk that believed in me so much, he introduced me to Lance Kane. At times, me and Lance would walk around Williamsburg in Brooklyn to just talk, and while doing so, taking random pictures. One day I get a call. "Tampa, one of my friends saw your pics and invited us to her show." "What kind of show?" I've asked. Lance said it's the first Fashion Week event in Brooklyn. Her name is Monica Watkins. She used to model for Ford Modeling Agency and is curating it through her stamp, Art Meets Fashion. I was all in. "How long?" Lance replied, "It's in Sunset Park. It's from Friday to Sunday." I couldn't believe it. I was going to be part of the Art Meets Fashion show. Wow, right? With over 50 artists under one roof, of videography, images, fashion, stories from outside some of ours reach. It was going to be epic, I've told Lance. Well, it's here. Fashion Week in Brooklyn. I'm standing with Lance on over 15,000 square feet, nothing but artists of all kinds walking by and greeting us. Miss Monica Watkins' arrival was like unreal, 'cause she said my name, Tampa, with a hug, "So nice to meet you." She said, "Lance told me you actually in the hip-hop realm." Yes, that's me, and my story. Monica guided us through the crowd to our own display booth. It had a few of my photos and Lance's photos all mixed on the wall. Lance had all of our images framed for this occasion. People was beginning to approach us and ask questions about the images. It wasn't until after the interaction, Lance would chime in and say, he records music, then turn back to what he was doing. But most of the weekend, I didn't speak about me and hip-hop. It was about the art and hearing other artists' stories. But when folk found out that Lance won an Emmy from his work on Paul McCartney's A&E in concert in Red Square in 2004, there was lots to talk about. But Lance is a professional, humble, and made sure I was part of one of his journeys. Of course, I've invited friends and family members, showed up to support me and Lance, and that was awesome. But I know some came to see if it was real and if this was just me embellishing this whole thing. Well, that's me on the wall. But this show is where I met Marco Galata at his booth. He does something I've never witnessed before, and that was paper cutting. His technique of drawing, painting around his paper cutting is something to see in its glow. Can you believe a decade later, Marco did a "Will You Marry Me" paper cutting piece for me to propose to my wife with, right in his studio, on one knee, surrounded by art? Yeah, my wife did cry. Marco even did a special piece he delivered to Will Smith. He was a stand-up dude, and I will always remember that moment, asking him, "How much?" His reply is what I've been using ever since. Pay it forward, my friend. Lance turned and asked me, "Hey, let's start on our next project, a book." My reply was, "Of course, I'm down," whispering, "By the way, I wrote 5 chapters and emailed them to Lance." Our journey this weekend was legendary, and I was very appreciative. Laughing, of course I've posted everything, because Lance and Lee are now resting in the heavens filming something together again. Bless up.